So this next video will make you question everything. And remember, this is for entertainment purposes only. Let's check it out.
Police examining the crime scene of Dino Bravo's murder discover 17 bullet casings from 2 different firearms on the living room floor.
Welcome to Watch Mojo, and today we're discussing 20 infamous mob hits.
No one is ever brought to trial for the slaughter of the 7 men in this garage. But within 19 months, all 4 of the killers will themselves die of violence.
For this video, we're looking at some examples of organized crime at its most violent. Did any of these crimes shock you? Let us know in the comments. The M&M murders. There have been a number of infamous mob hits that received the dramatization treatment on the silver screen. The M&M murders were one such hit, a gruesome scene that was showcased in director Martin Scorsese's 1995 classic Casino.
Don't make me have to do this, please, come on.
The incident in question occurred in 1962 and was perpetrated by 2 of the Mafia's most easily angered associates. Tony Spilatro and Mad Sam DiStefano eradicated 2 burglars, James Miraglia and William McCarthy, in truly gruesome fashion. They sought out McCarthy on the first night, torturing him to the point where he then gave up his partner Miraglia. Spilatro and DiStefano then proceeded to finish the job.
The word got around that finally there was a real gangster in town.
Dino Bravo. The world of professional wrestling is full of larger-than-life characters, but sometimes truth is stranger than fiction.
I'm not stepping out that way. I want to face you in front of all the people of Montreal. We know what you've got, They know what I've got.
This is particularly true when it comes to the story of Dino Bravo, a former superstar in the WWF that reportedly ran afoul of organized crime syndicates in his native Canada.
Moi, je pense qu'il a peut-être été naïf et souvent l'argent va faire des choses.
Bravo, who was born Adolfo Bresciano in 1948, was allegedly involved with smuggling cigarettes alongside his professional wrestling duties. The athlete's situation was dramatized on the docuseries Dark Side of the Ring, where it was revealed that Bravo possessed some real reservations about his dangerous side hustle.
When Dino was a
wrestler by day, mobster by night. Come on, man. It don't get no crazier than that. Could you imagine? You know how much wrestling I watched as a kid, bro? Like, this would have had me even more hooked, but I'm pretty sure they probably didn't know. But man, if that would have got out, that would have been crazy publicity for them too.
At the end of his days, that he may have done something that he wasn't supposed to. A lot of rumors run.
Maybe.
And he must have realized at one point, you're screwed.
These reservations were well-founded, as Bravo was found dead of multiple gunshot wounds on March 10th, 1993. Shonder Burns.
It takes chutzpah, brass nuts to get what you want.
Organized crime doesn't take holidays off. Perhaps this explains why the well-known Jewish-American gangster Shonder Burns was taken down on Easter's Holy Saturday back in March 1975. Burns had been feuding with Irish-American mob boss Danny Green. This feud had escalated to the point where Green had actually survived an assassination attempt plotted by Burns. The latter, however, wasn't so lucky. Burns was taken out by a car bomb, the explosion of which was described by police as being one of the strongest they'd ever witnessed. This was the result of the bomb being composed of C4, a deadly military-grade explosive. Philip the Chicken Man Testa. Philip Testa's moniker of the Chicken Man may sound silly, but there was nothing humorous about the manner in which he met his demise. The Chicken Man, known by this name due to his day job working with poultry, was allegedly whacked by members within his own circle. Testa was walking into his Philadelphia home when a homemade device known as a nail bomb went off. This is an explosive that shoots off deadly nail shrapnel into its target. Testa died on his front porch, but his killers would soon see retaliation for their crimes. Underboss Peter Casella.
You know what? I'm kind of glad I didn't live through that time. These jokers was ruthless. Like, and it seemed like they just didn't care at all about nothing or no one. You know what I mean? Besides those who ran with them. Other than that, bro, they didn't care. You crossed them, they was gonna do you by any means necessary.
Was exiled, while Capo Frank Narducci Sr. was shot down for his involvement in the Chicken Man hit. Irving Puggy Feinstein. Don't get too big for your britches. Irving Puggy Feinstein learned this the hard way when he ran afoul of the mob back in the late 1930s. Feinstein's low-level gambling and racketeering operations allegedly hid desires for future expansion. This ambition did not sit well with others in the organization. A hit was put on Puggy, and the sentence was carried out by the infamous enforcement outfit Murder Incorporated. Harry Strauss, Abe Relis, and Martin Goldstein did the deed with an ice pick. But Puggy wasn't going down without a fight. The mobster fought tooth and nail with his attackers, literally taking a bite out of Strauss during the hit.
The Murder Incorporated boys were issued scores of contracts by the syndicate, and the business at hand was executed with neatness and finesse.
Feinstein's burned body would later be found abandoned in a vacant lot. The Big Tuna Murders.
He skirted. He got him there. He fooled the government. He had a charmed life. He was always able to win out.
Operation Family Secrets was an FBI investigation that uncovered the details of numerous murders that took place within the world of Chicago organized crime. A number of these deaths were the brazen but foolish burglars who decided to rob the home of crime boss Tony Big Tuna Accardo. This inside job was performed by associates within the...
I was about to say, it gotta be an inside job. Somebody had to make that call. That just don't happen. You don't see that happening. You know what I mean? Somebody from the inside, he made somebody mad, or either somebody wanted his spot. That's what you normally hear about.
Mob, and it didn't take long for Accardo to connect the dots. Soon, everyone involved with the burglary was found slain in gruesome fashion.
When Accardo found out about it, one FBI source told me that his informant said the old man, he had never seen the old man so angry.
Then, a number of hired assassins were also whacked in order to keep things quiet. As for Accardo, he died of natural health complications at the age of 86. The Blackfriars Massacre. The world
tied up all loose ends, and he went out of natural causes. Why they went out? The way he wanted them to go.
Organized crime in Boston, Massachusetts has its own laundry list of infamous murders and hits. One such incident took place at the Blackfriars pub back in June of 1978. The downtown Boston spot was closed, but a number of men known to police, as well as a local news reporter, were playing backgammon in the pub's basement. Their bodies would later be found by authorities, slain gangland style, while money and narcotics were found at the scene. The Blackfriars Massacre remains unsolved, with some theories pointing to both the Patriarcha crime family and the notorious Winter Hill gang as potential suspects. Danny Green.
Danny Green's legend was born in this era. Known as the Irishman, his colorful career included a rocky stint heading the local longshoremen's union.
We mentioned earlier how Danny Green narrowly avoided an assassination attempt by his rival, Chandra Burns. Well, this wasn't the only time the Irish-American mob boss had cheated death. In fact, Green had become pretty good at avoiding nearly every attempt on his life, of which there were more than a few. His lucky streak finally ended, however, on October 6, 1977.
He was a mobster, he's a thief. You name it, he was.
Green was leaving an otherwise innocuous dentist appointment, not knowing that his phone had been tapped. He was killed by a car bomb, but it wasn't his car that blew up. Instead, hitman Ray Ferrito had planted a bomb in the car next to Green's. The boss would be found dead at the scene.
The mob wanted him dead. Ferrito decided to tell all. And with Ferrito naming names, some of those names wanted deals and protection.
Dutch Schultz.
Another thing mobsters hate, bro, is a rat. Whoo!
Word to the wise, if even the organization tells you not to do something, don't do it. The infamous mobster Dutch Schultz did not listen when his request to assassinate New York prosecutor Thomas Dewey was denied. Instead, he tried to go ahead with his plan, and paid the price. A hit was put out on Schultz, and by all accounts, it got messy.
But although Luciano has no intention of allowing Schultz to kill Dewey, he realizes that his former stablemate is too hot-headed to brush off.
Hitmen from Murder Inc. tried to take out Schultz and his associates at the Palace Chop House on October 23, 1935. It was a bullet-riddled affair, with the assassins getting away, while all of Schultz's gang received grave injuries. They would be taken to a local hospital, but all of them, including Schultz, eventually died from their wounds. Joe Masseria.
How much more you want to lose?
Un capo, bicho. One boss.
You may not be aware of the name Joe Masseria, unless you're a mob historian, of course. However, most everyone has probably heard of the man responsible for Masseria's murder. Lucky Luciano. Luciano was actually a lieutenant of Masseria's, while the latter was operating as a boss in the Genovese crime family. The hit took place at an Italian restaurant, the Nuova Villa Tamaro, where Masseria was shot repeatedly.
Joe, this ain't number 16.
Masseria was actually made aware of Luciano's treachery beforehand and attempted a counter hit, but was further betrayed by another associate, Joe Adonis. Lucky Luciano's plan was successful, while some of the gunmen involved included Adonis, as well as other big-name mobsters.
You watch the mob movies, right? And they always make it seem like, this thing of ours, they got each other's back, trusting inner workings of the mob, but it's always somehow infiltrated or some type of backstabbing or going on, double crossing and crossing each other. For it to be such supposedly this tight-knit group, it's a lot of crossing each other going on inside of it, man. That's all you keep hearing about.
Just Vito Genovese and Bugsy Siegel. Sam Giancana.
The only name you needed to know. And when Sam took the reins, all hell broke loose all over the world.
Over the years, this Chicago mobster has been linked to CIA efforts to assassinate Fidel Castro during the Kennedy presidency. At the time of his death, Momo was 67 years old and known for his gambling and refusal to spread the wealth.
Giancana's greatest strength was not his violent nature, but his gift for making money. It was Giancana who struck fear into the electricians' union so that every slot machine in Chicago paid the mob.
In 1974, he even relocated to Cuernavaca, Mexico to avoid legal hassles.
Large payments were certainly made to powerful men in Mexico City to protect him, to provide sanctuary.
But a life of crime caught up to Giancana on June 19, 1975, as he was gunned down while cooking sausage and peppers. Aside from those responsible, nobody knows who killed Sam the Cigar, and conspiracy theories persist. Known as Crazy Joe, this New York mafioso was raised in Brooklyn, New York.
He's vicious, he's a psychopath, and he scared the heck out of everybody.
Joey Gallo got off on anger, and he got off on power.
During the 50s, he joined the Profaci crime family, working as a hitman and extortionist. But eventually, Joey started a war with the gang and kidnapped Joe Profaci's brother-in-law, Joseph Magliacco.
The boys look like we're going uptown.
Yes, sir.
Yeah, here we go. We're in business.
Now you see how the people around the town always fall in line. They have no choice. When you hear the reputation of some of these guys they talking about, well, all of these guys that they talking about, if you're just a regular citizen living in that area and can't move, what you gonna do? Not do what they say? No, name of the game is survival. You can see why these jokers were feared and their reputation preceded them, fam. They were feared.
Tomorrow is here.
That is not something a crime lord forgets. On April 7th, 1972, Crazy Joe celebrated his 43rd birthday in Manhattan. Later that night, Gallo was ambushed and shot at Umberto's Clam House, and later died at Beekman Downtown Hospital. Anthony Spilatro.
How did Nicky collect?
Every week, I just post it.
Don't ask.
This Chicago gangster was the inspiration for Joe Pesci's character in the 1995 film Casino. And if you're familiar with the Martin Scorsese classic, then you know that Anthony Spilatro suffers a horrific fate. In 1963, the Ant was officially a made man, and in 1976, he established the Hole in the Wall gang. Spilatro eventually became suspected of skimming allegations at the mob's Las Vegas operations. He swiftly disappeared in 1986 and was later found buried with his brother Michael.
9 days later, a farmer...
That's another thing. You see all the time in the shows and different things, they try to run off, try to go off into witness protection or something like that, thinking they can escape the long arms of the mob. Bro, when these dudes got cops on payroll and different things like that, it was no escaping them. How was you gonna do it? How was you gonna escape them, bro? No, that was crazy.
Found the grave. DNA from the crime scene helped build the case 21 years later.
Police suspected Spilatro may have been involved in almost 24 murders. Jack McGurn.
Maybe I'm wrong to butt in like this,
But the last couple of months, I've been doing a little checking up on Moran.
Born Vincenzo Gibaldi, this man ultimately settled in Chicago and began boxing as a teenager.
Think you can handle a kid? Yes, sir.
By 1923, however, Jack McGurn joined Al Capone's crime organization and became known as the Machine Gun. He's known for killing singer Joe E. Lewis and allegedly helping plan the infamous St. Valentine's Day massacre. Exactly 1 day and 7 years after the massacre, McGurn was gunned down in Chicago, and the killers left a telling clue: a Valentine with a poem. Jack McGurn, a Sicilian immigrant, was 33 years old, and his half-brother Anthony DeMori was also murdered 2 weeks later. Angelo Bruno, known as the Gentle Don, this iconic gangster was actually known to avoid violence.
I mean, Bruno, he was just made the new boss of Philadelphia. He took care of everything from Philadelphia to Atlantic City.
For 20 years, Bruno headed the Philadelphia Mafia, but he began making enemies within the organization because of his greed.
London is going to be the Las Vegas of Europe. We need someone to front and someone to muscle for us.
On March 21st, 1980, his own underboss, Antonio Caponegro, allegedly had the docile Don killed outside his home on a South Philadelphia street. This did not go over well with the Commission, the Mafia's ruling body, which had not given their okay for the hit. As a result, Bruno's death was immediately avenged, as Caponegro was murdered for ordering his own boss's murder.
I know.
No, you don't know. Wait by the bar, would you?
Paul Castellano. For years, Big Polly was a legend of the New York Mafia.
The question is whether his death will spark a new mafia war in New York or be the end of one.
By 1975, he succeeded Carlo Gambino as the head of the Gambino crime family, and once reportedly put a contract out on an undercover FBI agent. In the mid-80s, Castellano was arrested for racketeering. Just as
See what I mean? Ruthless. Ruthless. And they look like regular everyday Joes. If you saw probably a few of them, you probably couldn't tell. You know what I mean? To the untrained eye, you probably couldn't tell. Everyday regular Joe Schmo look like.
Associate named John Gotti put a deadly plan in motion.
We're hitting Paul. And anyone else who's in the car with him.
On the evening of December 16, 1985, Castellano and his underboss Thomas Bellotti were both gunned down outside Manhattan's Sparks Steakhouse, a brazen act that announced a changing of the guard.
I gotta be loyal. Without that, we crumble.
Tell that to Paul Castellano.
Carmine Galante.
Carmine Galante. He was head of the Bonanno crime family. Known as the Cigar, he was widely feared for his cruelty.
Born in Harlem to Sicilian immigrants, this man became involved with organized crime before his teenage years. In the 40s, Carmine Galante worked as a hitman and later teamed up with Joseph Bonanno, leader of the Bonanno crime family. After 12 years in prison from 1962 to 1974, Galante attempted to run the drug trade, which greatly disappointed the five families.
In 5 short years, he transformed the fortunes of the US Mafia by leading it into an era of multi-billion-dollar profits and unparalleled violence.
On July 12, 1979, the 69-year-old Galante was murdered in Bushwick, Brooklyn, at Joe and Mary's Italian-American restaurant.
It was such a perfect hit that it entered mafia folklore.
The commission had officially ordered the hit, and Galante famously died with a cigar in his mouth.
The motive for the murder, however, was clear. Galante had become rich through drugs and refused to share his wealth.
Albert Anastasia, the American Mafia.
I mean, you see the you see the common theme here, right? You become a boss or whatever, you make rank, and then you get done in by somebody. You just keep hearing it over and over and over again. Somebody else became boss and then was gunned down, slain. Wow.
Mafia exists because of this Italian immigrant. In 1919, Albert Anastasia first arrived in the United States and was soon sentenced to death for a 1921 murder. But the Mad Hatter received a new lease on life when several witnesses disappeared. By 1957, Anastasia was a 55-year-old legend in the criminal underworld.
He would not hesitate to resort to violence, whether it was shooting or murdering anybody, just to advance his position.
But the crime boss met a violent end when associates of Carlo Gambino, including the aforementioned Joe Gallo, allegedly murdered Anastasia at a midtown Manhattan barbershop.
Excuse me, sir, I need to go in the back for a moment.
Alright, don't be too long.
Decades later, it remains one of the most aggressive power moves in mob history.
It's not a mob hit where they've taken you in the woods. It's happened right there in the middle of New York City. That's one of the reasons it's iconic. It's so visible.
Benjamin Bugsy Siegel. Along with his friend
Bugsy
Albert Anastasia,
Siegel.
this Jewish mobster was a founding member of Murder Incorporated.
Bugsy Siegel was one of the main players in Murder Incorporated, which was the enforcement arm of the Lucky Luciano mob.
Benjamin Bugsy Siegel is also responsible for developing a small desert town called Las Vegas.
Take a look at this place, this beautiful place. What I want you to do is take it in. Take a deep breath. Do you smell it? Go on, take a deep breath. What do you smell?
Born in Brooklyn, Bugsy began a life of crime as a young man, and his organizational skills led him all the way out west.
At age 14, he started his first gang. He would go around and intimidate pushcart peddlers by telling them they needed to pay him for protection. When they questioned what they needed protection from, he would throw kerosene on their pushcarts, set them on fire.
Unfortunately for Siegel, his brash demeanor and lavish lifestyle made him many enemies, and one of them showed up at his Beverly Hills home on June 20th, 1947.
So I think the decision was made that the only way to tell him he was finished was to finish him.
As Bugsy read the LA Times inside, an unknown assassin fired through a window, killing the gangster. Before we continue, be sure to subscribe to our channel and ring the bell to get notified about our latest videos. You have the option to be notified for occasional videos or all of them. If you're on your phone, make sure you go into your setting massacre.
This is a raid! Everybody, against the wall! You know the drill.
Throughout history, individual mob hits have symbolized a transfer of power. In 1929, Al Capone made a major move by taking out several members of an Irish gang led by George Bugs Moran. Two supposed police officers arrived at a North Chicago warehouse and, along with two other hitmen, massacred 7 gangsters with Thompson submachine guns and shotguns.
Moran and others pointed the finger at Capone, but Al had an airtight alibi. He was in Florida in a meeting with the district attorney in Miami at the time of the shootings.
A contract killer named Frank Gusenberg survived the attack, but he refused to identify the assassins before passing away hours later. It's the stuff of movies, but it's also a disturbing real-life mob hit that sheds light on the brutality of Prohibition-era America.
All right, you two, let's go. Listen, Buster, you better be kidding. Move. Cozy, flat feet. Wait till you hear about this downtown.
Check out this other recent clip from Watch Mojo.
Listen.
And be sure to subscribe and ring the bell to be notified about our latest videos.
Video I didn't want to cut off. It was pushy like the mob. But listen, I got a serious question though. Do y'all think it still exists? The mafia, mob, organized crime? Y'all think it still exists? Because they do a good job of acting like it doesn't exist. But me, in my heart of hearts, I think it still does exist, bro. I think it still does. I don't know why. I don't know. But I'll tell you what. I can't stop watching it. So, think I'm about to go watch Sopranos or Casino